So, good afternoon, everyone. It's wonderful to see you, and we're very excited to see you. My name's Ian, and I'm talking to you from Stirling in Scotland. And we'll just keep talking for a couple of introductory minutes as more and more participants will join us, I'm sure. I'm joined today from Systema Scotland by my colleagues who are the percussion instructors at the different big noise centres. So, Tom, who's in Glasgow, Callum, who tutors at the centre in Aberdeen, and Patrick, who tutors at the centre in Dundee, and also by our musical director, Peter, who's in the session today. And it's thank you very much for coming and giving this a go. What we're going to introduce today are, with an eye on rhythm, are some of the features of traditional Scottish music. And what we'll do is we'll treat it a bit like a group session, as if we were in the same room. So I know that there's kind of adults and tutors amongst us, but if you have an instrument to play, please play. No one will be invited to turn the microphone on. I'll provide background music through my speaker here to always play along to, and myself and my colleagues can give demonstrations on our percussion instruments. But no matter what your instrument is, if you have one to hand, please play and please try these things out. I think with Elisabetta, all of the music that we'll cover today is available in PDF form to share with different transpositions, and we'll go through that in turn. But what we had as our welcome music was one of the classic sets for a pipe band to play, and that is a march followed by a strathspey, followed by a reel. And at their root, as with so many different forms of folk music, it's song and dance. So the way that the voice carries the syllables of the words in the text of the song forms its way into the rhythm of the music, and also the way that the feet dance the steps form their way into the music. And the first thing that we're going to pay attention to is a style of traditional melody which goes along with a dance, which is particular to Scotland. It's called the Strathspey. Now, that's a place. The River Spey runs through lots of towns in the Highlands of Scotland, and the area around the River Spey is referred to as Strathspey, but that's also a type of dance. And importantly for us today, a type of tune which features the rhythm that's commonly known. Sometimes it's referred to as a Lombard rhythm, but in these tunes, it's commonly known as a Scotch snap. And that is where we have a strong emphasis on a short note followed by a long note. I'm going to play, before sharing any music on the screen, I'm going to play a set of tunes through my speaker, and I'll probably fade it down once we get to the second time around, the second strathspey. So what we're going to hear are, and in concert pitch, the first one's in A minor, the second one's in B minor. So these are two strathspeys. Into. And now we're into the real, so I'll fade it out. Welcome to those that joined us while the music was playing there. Can I just check? I'll share example number 1 again. Thank you for joining us, all those that have just been arriving in the last few minutes. Just a reminder, it would be wonderful if you had an instrument to hand, no matter what that instrument is, if you tried playing along as we go through the session. I'm well aware that we have colleagues, adult colleagues from far and wide who are also educators and instructors themselves. So if you want to just absorb the information in a way that you might use it with your own group, you're very welcome to all of this resource, but please play and we'll play as well. Now, that first Strathspey is called the Aux, and if you received any resources from Systema Europe SummerFest organisers, you'll see kind of melodic charts with chord symbols up above, also chord charts with no melodic or rhythmic information, just the form and the chord changes. But really what we have just as a simple rhythm here is the way that the Strathspey rhythm is presented in that first tune, the Aux. It's in concert A minor. Oh, and I should add, if you are playing along, particularly if there are any young people there, if you're playing along on any transposing instrument and you don't have the music in your own register or your own transposition, please just write a message in the chat and one of my colleagues will share that to you through the chat function. So any tenor players or horn players or trumpeters out there, don't be working on your transpositions just now. The music's all there for you. I'll continue talking in concert pitch though. So we're going to go in A minor. And what I'm going to do on my marimba here is just play this 2-bar example all on a concert A in quite a low register for me. You choose the register that's comfy for you. And for the second step, sorry, I'm just trying to find my pen. After having played all of these notes on an A, again, if I was working with a group of young people at Big Noise here, this is the steps that we would take. These 3 circle notes, just play on a G natural. So first of all, on an A natural. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, we'll do it in a loop this time. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Again. And now, at any point, if the tempo that we've chosen to play is uncomfortably fast, please just say, and we'll slow it down as if we were in a room of young people taking it step by step. Now, we'll just, with a lighter emphasis, we'll play the 3 circled notes on the neighbouring G natural, but they should be lighter. And I will go a bit slower this time, just in case we've got lots of young people that are joining in. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm now going to move to Strathspey example 2, the way it was presented in the second tune there, which is called Neil Gow's style. And what you'll notice is that this rhythm is exactly the same. It's kind of in phase, one beat step out from the one that we heard in the first tune. So that's an interesting choice in the arrangement. The band that we were listening to is Blazing Fiddles. Now they do have a rhythm section. They have a guitarist and a piano player. Excuse me, but I picked that set because the guitarist and the piano are not in it the whole time. It's just the fiddles. So for us, for the purposes of our backing track and our mixed instrument group where we all have the sound of our own instrument and what's coming through here, we're always going to have that melody track to play along with. So yeah, as you'll see, it's as if example 2 is starting one beat out from where example 1 was, and that's something that obviously thought was given to that in the creation of the arrangement of the tunes. And also that one is in B minor, so we can do the exact same thing. Let's play this rhythm on a concert B, okay? One, two, 1, 2, 3, 4. And again, we'll do it in a loop. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. And in the same way that we treated example number 1 with the circled notes, let's go to the neighbouring A natural. I'll just find my pen. And if there's anyone that's not playing a melodic instrument, you know, like Callum with his Cayley tray and Patrick with his, his bodhrán. Patrick's from Ireland, where this instrument was invented, and he's got the bodhrán from Ireland, but all the Celtic nations have their own version of this drum. Mine's from the island of Skye, and I call mine a bodhrán. And
a little demonstration.
Yes, please, Patrick.
So you hold it with one hand, and you hold the stick with the other hand, and you go down and up, down, up, down, up. And then this hand moves around, touches the skin, and that kind of thing, and just there's different kinds of tones.
Thank you very much. And I've noticed that Tom has a collection of these drums on his wall for us to see. So I've circled 3 notes. Remember, we're in concert B minor for this second tune, so these would be the 3 that we put on the neighbouring A natural. So let's just practice in that same way. And as I say, if you are playing a rhythmic instrument and you're not able to play specific pitches, it's time to start really thinking about the 4 feel. Now, when we talk about feel, and if there are 4 beats in the bar, or even if it's alla breve, a 4 feel in music would just signify that something is happening on all 4 beats of the bar in even crotchets. So that could be a bass line, a walking bass line in jazz music. It could be the kick drum of a drum set, keeping time on all 4 beats. If it's a soul tune, it could be the snare drum playing on all 4 beats. A 2 feel would simply mean that it's half bars, half notes, minims. And again, that could be the bass drum of a drum set. It could be the the bass line on a tuba or a sousaphone or a double bass or any bass register instrument. And in these Strathspeys, even at fast tempos, what we're really looking for is a 4 feel, real evenness and weight on all 4 beats of the bar. And as I said previously, the circled notes should have less emphasis. So let's try that in a loop with the bold notes on a concert B and the circled notes on a concert A. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now at this point, it would be great if you could all see the chart with the melody and the chords for the aux. So if anyone requires that to be shared with them through the chat, now's the time to request it from anyone that's got it. And
if I want, I can share anywhere so they can see it. I will put it in the chat, okay?
Yes, please, thank you. And the reason for that is because not knowing what everybody has at the moment, we might have people that prefer to read in different transpositions or different registers. There's alto clef for viola players there. There are transpositions into E flat, F and B flat, bass clef and treble clef. Now what I did, this is obviously a fiddle tune that we've been listening to, which uses quite a wide range. So again, this is a technique just for any other educators that are doing this type of work with mixed instrument ensembles. I've done the odd octave transposition just to condense the range to make it more comfortable. So like for the bass clef, I had in mind that we might have a cello, we might have a trombone. For the F, we have tenorune, beginner bassoonists in big noise start off on the tenorune before they go into the big bassoon. So I was just thinking about the smaller range of those younger players, but also making it comfortable in treble clef for horn players. And again, I'm very welcome to any comments. So if anyone's an alto sax player and has any comments about the E flat part, please share it with me, because it's all part of the preparations for these mixed groups. And what I'd like to talk about first of all are the chord symbols. I'm quite aware that the group is predominantly adults here at the moment, and not sure what everyone's experience is with chord symbols, and particularly if any of you are young people and you're not used to reading this type of thing. But there are a number of different ways of notating different chord symbols. For example, in concert pitch, bar number 1 at the aux says capital A, small m. That means A minor. We could have a minus sign as well to symbolize A minor. And when there's no other information, we could just take it that it's an A minor chord with the 3 voices being an A minor triad, A natural, C natural, and E natural. And because the capital A is there, that's your root note, and that's what we would expect to try out first of all in the bass. As it moves on, G, G major triad, D, D major triad, A minor again, G, E M7. Just a reminder, and again, if there are any young people, if you see the number 7, that's a dominant 7th chord, so it's the flat 7. And if you're improvising over this, the associated mode would be E Dorian, because it's got flat 3 and flat 7. Okay, but that's the first time that we see a chord with 4 voices. Thank you very much for sharing it on screen for everyone to see. In the second time ending of the first part of the tune, we have the first incidence of what's known as a slash chord, G/B. And what that means is that the third is the bass note. So anyone who's playing the bass line or any bass register instruments, or anyone like the keyboard player, you should voice it so that B is in the base of the chord and not G. And we see the slash chords again in bar 14. Beat number 2 stays on a C chord, but it's a E in the bass. And even though we're continuing on F, restating F on beat 1 of bar 15 serves a rhythmical purpose. There's no need to give that information otherwise than to provide the rhythm. And what would be really good just now, if this was a group of young people, would be just obviously reading your own transpositions to play crotchets, but just the roots of the chords. Okay, and I'll join along on my marimba. And we'll do the first part of the tune with the repeat, taking the second time ending, and also the second part of the tune with the repeat, taking the second time ending, and then stop. 1. Oh, final thing to say, and this is something that I always try and remember to say to the young people. If they're seeing this for the first time, it's okay to change with a leap that ascends when your neighbour changes with a leap that descends. Play in the register that's comfortable to you, and make the changes in the direction that you choose. And on the repeat, you can go in the opposite direction from the one that you tried the previous time. I might do that too. Let's try. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Any questions at this point? Having just like described it and then played that roots of the chord changes once. Does that make sense to everybody? And it's absolutely fine for everyone to have their camera and their microphone off, but the occasional virtual thumbs up reaction would serve. Yeah, great. You can press the button as well in reactions at the bottom, just if we ask a question, and also. If you'd like me to repeat anything or explain it in a different way or even talk slower, please just ask. Okay, so having done that and talked about the slash chords and given it that 4 feel, what we didn't hear in the recording that we listened to was anything by way of an introduction to the set. But if we were all together making music in a room with our different instruments, or if we were working with our young people, probably what I would experiment with is going back to those flashcards that we had at the very beginning with the examples of the Strathspey rhythm. And then now that we've introduced the chord progression and thinking about the changing chords with the roots, think about the different voices. And maybe what we could do is we could layer up. And again, even if I'm working with a group that's only got 5 or 6 participants, I always find it's especially fun to give them options and choices and find their own way to play that they like. So having said that, we're all going to play on an A natural Strathspey example number 1 twice. And then after that, it's your choice whether you want to stay on the root or play one of the other chord tones. And then what we could have, so having done this, some players in their own register might go to, and we might layer it up a thicker texture being aware of a shared rhythm, but the freedom to move between the chord tones. And that brings me to my next point, working with the young people, which would be as an accompanist, thinking about the chord tones to navigate your way through it in as smooth a way as possible. So in that last bass note exercise, I said, doesn't matter, you can rise, you can fall, you can change in whatever direction you want, but the object when moving through the different chord tones would be to try and choose as smooth a path as possible, and remembering that if it's possible to stay on the same pitch over a change of chord, that's often a very sensible decision to make. If it's possible to play the whole tune and only move one or two steps up or down, that's also a very sensible choice to make. Now, the only way that I can play long notes on my marimba is by doing a roll. If I had a vibraphone here, I'd have a sustain pedal. I mean, I don't know how many of you have an instrument, a wind or a brass or a string instrument that you can choose to do long notes, but I'm going to play the Blazing Fiddles arrangement one more time. And what I'd like you to listen out for this time is when any of the players in the group are choosing the thing that I've just been discussing, chord tones over long notes. And, you know, I might just let it run for a couple of minutes and busk along on my marimba doing rolls. So you're all welcome to play along. Imagine the sound if we were able to all hear ourselves. But so you can hear those that are playing chord tones are playing that 4/feel rhythm. Long notes are creeping in now. Unison on the melody. Okay, so building an arrangement in this kind of slightly synthetic environment, putting yourself in the position that we're all in the same room, we're already given the participants choices of what their role is, depending on what they're comfortable with. Obviously, I've not played anything to do with the melody yet, and if there are any stronger players on melodic instruments, having mastered the tune that's on the page, we could then go into exploration, you know, in all styles of folk music, particularly when short rhythms are repeated multiple times. It's a very appropriate and very important part of the delivery that the player puts their own personality into ornamentation, decoration, and variation. And it's absolutely fine when you're taking repeats to throw in your own personal variations and ornaments. Obviously, in a group like that, there has to be some sort of a consensus. That's the basics of ensemble playing, isn't it? Trying things out in the rehearsal room and deciding on certain aspects that affect the playing of the whole group, and that could be something that applies to the ornaments and the grace notes that are not on the page. But variation is very much a big thing, and obviously, and again, I think about the type of work that we do at Big Noise with mixed instrument groups using jazz charts for improvisation, thinking about the associated modes as you navigate your way through the chord progression. And what was the other thing I was going to say? Sorry, I forgot. But another thing about helping each participant to identify what is their role in the band. Are they going to play chord tones first time round? Are they going to play long notes? Are they going to do the rhythm section? And again, another thing I've not mentioned is, are there anyone who is able to play 2 or more notes at one time? Is anyone at a keyboard or a guitar, or tuned percussionists like ourselves? We can play more than one note at a time. So we can actually think about all 4 voices of a 4-note chord, and the term is voicing as to the intervals between those voices and how you choose to approach it. So even in just the small amount of information on the chart, there's loads that could be expanded from it. And to kind of pause, take breath for a wee minute to summarize where I've got to in my own thoughts about this very first tune in the set, the Aux, is using our flashcard Strathspey example 1 to help our understanding of the Strathspey rhythm. That then forms the starting idea for building an introduction before the melody comes in. Using the chord tones of A minor and building it up, and then trying it out, deciding whether that's 4 bars, 8 bars, however long, and how that texture is going to become thicker. And then when the tune comes in, assigning who's going to be playing that melody, who's going to be harmonizing it, when and how is it going to be harmonized, who is going to be playing long chord tones, who and when are the chord tones going to be in a 4 feel, when are we all playing in unison like we heard the idea from the group in the record, when are we going to be playing the roots of the chords and forming a bass line from that. The other rhythm that we could try was that 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4, that 4 feel of short notes with the chords. Now, as it moves on into B minor territory for the second tune, I think I'm pretty sure I pressed pause on the recording, so I'll just press play again and we'll hear Neil Gow's style, the B minor tune. Just an important note, particularly for the young people, the very last note of the first tune, there was an agreement that should be played short. So it was a bit like a stop-go, create the space, create that emptiness before arriving in the new key and the new direction. And you'll hear there's a very slight pickup in the tempo as well. Here comes the stop-go. You can hear there's an octave leap going on now. In the bass register. Long notes. And when speaking to the young people and having their response into what they're listening to, what I would hope to hear is that there's an agreement that there's an emphasis on beats 2 and 4, and that they heard that octave leap in the bass line that I was mirroring on my marimba there. Also, when the long notes come, and I should say as well, if there are any string players there, I don't know the name for the technique, but these fiddle players often cross all 4 strings, and it's as if when you see triplet quavers or 16th notes, it's as if that's actually part of the decoration more than it's part of the melody, going across all 4 strings. I don't know the name for that technique, but it's a very popular one, a bow technique to maybe accompany for a very, very long time with ups and downs. Showing off, yeah. And Tom, never forget, our triangle is much cheaper than their violin. So, and yeah, these the stylistic way to interpret these triplets and 16th notes, 4 semiquavers, is very often not one that is metrically even. Okay, so I don't want to use the term rubato, but it can be kind of crushed. It can be a very personal expression rather than playing it rhythmically correct the way it is on the page, if that makes sense to you. It's a kind of, and even though Scotland's a small place, if you gave the same tune to pipers, whistlers, accordion players, fiddle players from different parts of Scotland, you would hear in their interpretation details like those 16th notes, slight differences, and it's like the accents in the spoken voice. It's very much particular to the region and the carrying on of the tradition in each region. I'd like to move on. And again, if we were working with particularly young students or students who were new learners, the way to welcome them into this, even if those chord changes and roots is such a challenge, is if they can play an A and they can play a B, they can do a drone. They can be in the band and they can play long notes, short notes. They can participate in the decision making that goes to the rhythms, but they can just play pedal notes. A drone is a very important part, and I think as this arrangement that we're listening to progresses and we go into the faster tunes, the reels, you'll hear that coming in. I think in the G major reel, there's a drone that goes on. So I think at this point, oh yeah, one thing I wanted to mention in case there are any string players, I don't know how this transfers to the traditional music of where you are all from, but it's really popular for string players to experiment with different tunings of the strings to complement the style that they wish to play. And for example, these ones that we're listening to, they might often have more than one instrument on stage in the concert because they're tuned to different tunes. There's a lot of fiddle tunes which are tuned EA to give the opportunity to have kind of sympathetic, harmonically ringing strings, or to do those double stops with the open strings. Similarly, guitarists, it's really popular to tune the strings DAD, GAD, and experiment with those different resonances. I don't know if there's anyone here from Scandinavia, but the hardanger fiddle is something that has showed lots of influence in the traditional music in Scotland recently, and Scandinavians and Scottish musicians playing together has been quite commonplace, and it's these resonances that those instruments bring to it. Okay, I'm going to move on, and what I might share is just a wee scribble that I did to go over the chords for the reels. Okay, so if I was in a rehearsal, personally speaking, I always like to bring blank paper, and as the music is being created, I like to start with a blank page and use pencil and handwrite it. And if I had come out of a rehearsal room, this is probably the way that things would look for the reels. So again, just in case there are any young people, on purpose, I used a minus sign for a B minor. Okay. Going through the keys, the first reel, just reminding myself, obviously that I'm not using manuscript here, but just reminding myself that it's 2 sharps, 1 sharp, and then like all good soul tunes or pop tunes, this is actually the same tune, but it goes up a tone for the last chorus. Okay, so we're going from G to A in that second tune. And in this spot here, this is just my little scribble of saying, first time around, we play, I think what I should have probably done is put a D here as well. And then the second time around, and this is a decision that Blazing Fiddles have done, we only do half a bar, drop those 2 beats, and go straight into the modulation. What I've done here on, now really, and again, I'm well aware that I am speaking to colleagues who are educators, really this should be alla breve. It's a faster tempo with a 2 feel. Again, with the young people, if we're thinking still in 4, I've drawn an arrow down onto the chord change on the 4th crotchet beat here, and again here, and then again when it gets into the A major, same thing in the same place. Rather than the chord changing on beat 1, if it's brought back to the latter part of the previous bar, well, I used the word brought back, but we actually call that a push. It's most often referred to as a push, and that's a rhythmic idea. In any swung jazz music, it's common for a chord change to come on the final swung quaver of the previous bar rather than on the downbeat. And similarly, if it's straight 8s, if there's chord changes on the offbeats, they get referred to as pushes. But what we have here, the rhythm of the tune is straight quavers, and then tied over. And as an introduction to this, what the band have done at the end of the second time around the B part, they've done this idea. I'm going to sit here and point to the page, and I'm going to play you the tune through my speaker, and you'll hear what I mean. Okay, so last time around the B minor suspect. It's great to see you playing. Now here comes the reel. Second time around. Every tune goes round twice. And here we have this idea. G. So chord 1, 5, 1, 4. Here's the figure. Push. 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 And push again. Push. Push. 1, 2, A. Okay, so dropped half the bar. One and two, push. Last time. So good to see you playing. Now, I'm not able to see everyone at the moment. Callum, how would you feel about sharing your sound and maybe flipping your camera down so that Callum's playing his very own instrument that he made himself called the Kale Tray. Okay, so a
Fantastic.
wonderful craftsman. And
there you go.
Callum, keep your mic on, and
Yeah.
like what I'm going to do on my marimba is I'm going to try and mimic the kind of emphasis on 2 and 4 with the chord tones, like. Thank you. So I know that wouldn't have sounded together using Zoom, but just to kind of those instruments that are able to play rhythmic accompaniment like that, or chords, guitars, thinking about how to put the emphasis on, well, the offbeats. If you're thinking in 2 and alla breve, it's the offbeats. If you're still thinking in 4, it's like having a backbeat on beat 2 and beat 4, and putting that emphasis there. And again, that's where we would put the chord tones that we had discussed earlier on, and play about with that in the arrangement. And if you think about the bars that had the pushes, having heard it now, you can hear it's just going from a G chord to a C chord, or if you're transposing, just chord 1 to chord 4. And it actually moves by step following the scale. It's G, G, A, A, B, B landing on the C, G, G, A, A, B, B, C. And in the same way that we added texture to our very original flashcards with Strathspey example 1, with the different players in the band, we could share all that together, going from concert G to concert C by step, but then use the chord tones, and it's their choice whether they want to actually start on a B natural and rise, or whether they want to start on a D and rise and make it thicker. But obviously with mixed instruments, it's not going to be as compact as that. We're going to have different ranges, different inversions, and different ways to experiment with the sound. Now, I think it's time that we could make an attempt to use our instruments to play along with the full arrangement, okay? So regardless of what it is that you have on the screen, and Elisabetta, if it's you that's been sharing for everyone on the screen, thank you very much. It's great to see. So that's obviously in concert pitch, and I don't know how that suits everyone that has an instrument, but if we keep our idea of any introductions for when we're working with our young people, and I'll just press play, and you know that all the tunes go around twice, and the elements to experiment with, and I'll play along on my marimba, but I'll try and not do too strong so that you can always hear the backing track. And what I'm going to play about with are 4-feel bass line roots and using the slash chords to go through it. Long notes, finding as smooth a line as I can using the chord tones. Sometimes I might double the melody. Sometimes I might harmonise the melody. Remember, when it gets to the end of the first tune, it's like a dead end, stop and go, leave a space when we go into B minor. I'm going to respond to the music that's coming through the speaker in that second tune, when to play softer and when to play long notes. When we get into the reels, I'm going to play my marimba with chords in the same way that Callum was playing his Cayley tray there. Kind of ghosting the two quavers of the on beats and emphasizing the quavers and the off beats. Remember that after we have played the G reel for the second time, we drop a full minim beat and we come in for the last tune in A beat earlier than expected. Okay, enjoy yourselves, and this should hopefully leave time for me to play you one more example of music and answer any of your questions before we finish. So this is our chance to have a playthrough with the wonderful Scottish band Blazing Fiddles.
Ian, can I just check, Elisabetta, are you going to share the chart for us? Is that the intention?
Thank you. Thank you. So that's the last one. So, if I don't play, Elisabetta, I could share it here, but...
Tell me if you prefer to share or if you want me to do that.
The best thing would be if you could tell me when you're ready to firstly share the aux.
Yeah. So give me just a moment.
So just anything from the aux, followed by...
So, here we are.
Thank
you. See it?
Not yet. It's still the handwritten one
Ian,
that you had most previously. Yes?
Ian, it has been me that's been sharing the charts, and I'm happy.
Oh, sorry, Tom, I didn't realise that. Thank you.
That's absolutely fine. If you'd like me to share in order.
Thanks very much, Tom. I hadn't realised that. So it's really just anything from the aux, followed by anything from Neil Gow's style, followed by that handwritten chart for the reels. Thank you.
Okay.
Where we've stopped,
I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you very much. I'll press play. So just imagine our introduction growing. Thanks very much, everybody. There's more I'd like to play you, but it's 2:00 in Scotland now. It's great that this group grew and grew the longer it went on. So for those people that have joined us in the previous few minutes, this session has been recorded, and Elisabetta can share with you any information, and it would be great to hear from you. And please turn your camera on to say hello and say cheerio, and we can all see everyone and what instruments we have. And Yolo, it's such a long time since our paths have crossed. It's great to see you virtually like this.
Yeah, it's great to see you again, man.
Hello.
Really fantastic. Thank you. And
Thank you very much.
It worked fantastically musically as well. I thought it was, let's start all over again. So, thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you all for
Thanks.
coming.
Thanks. Bye.